I see my name in shining lights, yeah, a different city every night. Oh, I swear the world better prepare for when I'm a billionaire.
It's time to get down to business on the weekend's #1 business program. Known as the King of Networking, your host, Shalom Klein, has worked with thousands of entrepreneurs and created countless jobs. So, to success, let's get down to business.
And indeed, we're all about small business jobs and entrepreneurship in business. We talk a lot about business here on with Get Down to Business, and I'm your host, Shalom Klein. Remember, you can always download the podcast from Get Down to Business on my website at shalomklein.com. And while you're there, don't forget to follow me on Twitter at Shalom Klein. It's going to be a jam-packed week of content and information you will not want to miss. So let's jump right in. I'm thrilled to be joined by Simon Chan, a consistency coach, which we're going to talk a lot about that, and the founder of the MLM Nation, a business training company, an international speaker and trainer. Simon helps business owners stay consistent, defeat, overwhelm, and build a successful business online. And I know Simon started his entrepreneurial career in 2003 and built a multi-million-dollar business with over 200,000 distributors, and then retired 10 years later to get started in this incredible work. And he is a amazingly popular podcast host. Simon, welcome to the program.
Hey, thank you for having me on here. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. It is an honor and privilege. So, Simon, I always love to get to know the person behind the microphone, and you certainly have quite the career, and you're just getting started, my friend. So, Simon, how did you become so passionate about business and consistency?
Well, I'm a shy, quiet Asian kid from Brooklyn, New York, and I was taught to follow the traditional path. Study hard in school, get a good job, and work your way up. I was never exposed to business in any way. In fact, my dad was kind of rags to riches. He grew up in Hong Kong in the ghetto, studied hard, became a doctor, and I grew up in a pretty good lifestyle. I was always the richest kid in the public school, and I always thought I was going to follow my dad's footsteps. My dad actually was negative towards business, but I think he grew up in he and 5 brothers and sisters lived in a tiny 2-bedroom apartment in Hong Kong, and downstairs was his father's store. So I don't know what he saw down in the hardware store, maybe some dealings, whatever. He always thought a lot of business people are unethical, and he never really wanted me to go to business. So I thought I was just going to go have a job. And, I had a job that was, I loved, low paying, but I thought I was going to be working at the corporate, and 20, 30 years later, have a corner office and work till I was like 60. And until I read a book in early 2000s, Rich Dad, Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki. Mm-hmm. And that book totally changed my life. I was like, whoa, my goodness, you don't need to work that long. You can actually control your hours. Because at that time, all my mentors, they had long hours and working in the corporate office. I was like, wow, you don't need to do that. So that got me hooked, and that got me searching for different things. I didn't have any business experience, nothing, didn't know how to sell, didn't know how to market, didn't even know really what marketing was. It's funny. I actually went to one of those posts at NYU at that time, like Marketing 101. I had no idea what marketing was. But eventually since I had no business experience, I ended up with direct selling, started a network marketing business. I struggled for many months, and then I finally, the turning point was when I had a mentor to help me stay consistent, and then the rest is history.
Clearly, it's changed your life, which is incredible, and you've got quite the journey. I know you wrote the Consistency Pill, which I can't wait to talk all about. But you've certainly, again, proven your business chops in building a 7-figure business with as we said, 200,000 plus distributors. So now you're focusing on trying to help others with that one principle that has helped you succeed, and that's consistency. So the way you've defined it in your book, the way I took this little concise nutshell, simple steps to boost sales and business success without altering your existing business plan. So how did you sort of tap that that logic of consistency, and how does it why does it matter for some of the small business entrepreneurs that might be tuning in to this program?
Well, if you're a new entrepreneur, like my background is I was always a good student. My teacher would tell me what to do, I'll do it. In my job, and my boss told me what to do, I always do it well. But being an entrepreneur requires a lot of discipline, and being able to focus on the things that are important, right? There's always things that are urgent, that's you working in the business, but what about the things that are working on the business? And for a lot of, any business, you always need sales and marketing, right? Sales and marketing. Without sales and marketing, especially a new business, you're never going to survive without sales and marketing. You can survive a little bit without systems in the beginning, but with no sales and marketing, you're not going to get those customers in. But that requires doing a lot of what the dirty work, making sales calls, grinding, doing the things you don't want to do. And it's very, very easy to lose focus out of that. But the important thing is with consistency, anyone can get good at something. And especially in this day of age, I've seen like anything you want to ever learn, Shalom, is available for free. Right. Anything you want to learn is on YouTube, somewhere there's a podcast, on your show, anything you want to learn. But the key to winning is the one who can stay focused and apply consistent action to what they learned. And I found that when I first started, I would learn a lot of different things. I'll read a lot of different books, but never fully implemented on one strategy or stick to one. And wasn't really, and making the sales call, staying focused on it. I'll get excited. I'll get emotionally excited and I'll make the calls. When I got a lot of rejection or those little down cycles, I'll lose focus. Or not getting results in certain type of social media strategy, you lose focus. But if you stay consistent, that you are going to be successful. That consistency creates mastery. And especially we live in the distraction economy now where there's so many distractions. You want to do everything, right? I've seen new entrepreneurs, they want to get on social media. They know the importance of digital marketing and they want to do it on every platform, right? Now, a lot of you, especially if you're bootstrapping, you may not have the resources to do that. I always teach people, focus on one. Like go deep instead of going wide. Get good at one thing before you go wide in different things. And if I look back to my entrepreneur career, whether it was expanding to Malaysia, then expanding the business to Philippines, or even with my podcast, which you mentioned, it was really the key was consistent focus on one thing, doing it over and over again, and then you get really good at it, and then you can branch off to do another part.
That's great advice, absolutely, and certainly it sounds like you've cracked the code over there, which is great. And as you've said, it can apply to a 7-figure business with hundreds of thousands of distributors, or to that startup as well. And you've touched on something really, really important. We're going to talk about it some more later on in the program about getting things done every day. I know later in the show, we're going to talk with one of our guests about how to prioritize your mental and physical health as well. But you've touched on something really interesting, which I have to learn more about, is how to get more done every day in less time. And sometimes that consistency, it slips. Sometimes it's hard. You break a rhythm, you break a habit. What lessons would you have, and how do you prioritize to make sure you're getting the important things done on a regular basis?
Well, in the book, you mentioned the 7 steps. There's actually 7 components to the consistency system. So most goals fail because there's a lack of, they're not applying these 7 components. And if anyone who's ever achieved a goal, I'm sure you applied every 7 of these components. And I'm just going to go over 2 of them real quick. Number 1, you got to have a checklist, specific list of what you need to do. Right. And number 2 is create and schedule the time. I think that's the most important because we're all busy in our entrepreneurial careers. We got to work in the business, but you don't grow the business until you work on the business. So you got to create and schedule the time to get more stuff done. Time blocking is really important. Plan the night before and block off your time. So, for example, even if you're working on a new project, right? We're never going to have the time unless you create the time. You're never going to have the time because I think it's a Parkinson's law where everything fills into a vacuum, right? Like it's like the project you want to do on the weekend, or you got to clean your garage, or whatever. That never happens because even though you have a free weekend, because things always come up. So unless you block off the time and be strict with that time blocking, you're never going to have that. So getting back to your question, you want to get more stuff done. Number 1, block off your time. Plan the day the night before, and when you wake up, you work on that plan and always work on the offensive, right? A lot of people, when they get up, they check their phones, they react to emails. You're in defensive mode already. You're reacting to messages, and you have a bad message from a client or a customer or some problem that happened, immediately it puts you in the negative state of mind. And then you're going to be off track and you won't be doing what you need to do. Instead, create and block off the time and work on the offensive. be on offense. So, for example, I think everyone knows the energy. I'm a morning person. Some of you be evening people. But first thing I do when I wake up in the morning, hey, I do my daily show. I do a live show on social media. And immediately afterwards, I work on the most important thing. And generally, that's always sales and marketing. And it doesn't need to be much time. It could be 15 minutes. I need to get an email to my followers. I get that done. Because I know if I don't get that done, there's two things: creating content and talking to my followers. I'm never going to have the time. The rest of the day is always going to be hijacked. Something will always come up. So create and schedule the time and create that routine. And one last thing is, for those who exercise consistently, right? If you exercise consistently, you exercise at a consistent time. There's a routine. Create that routine. Without the routine, it's never going to happen. When I ask people, hey, do you exercise? And they say like, yeah, I try my best. I think when I have time. I know that person's not exercising consistently. Right, so whatever you want to do, whatever you need to do.
Well, Simon, we've got to leave it there. We've got to cut to a commercial. Can you share your website where people can learn more and get in touch with you?
Yeah, so you can go to MLMNation.com, MLMNation.com, or just follow me on social media. It's Simon Chan on Facebook or Instagram.
Fantastic. Simon Chan, thank you so much for sharing your expertise with our listeners. I look forward to bringing you back on real soon. Got to squeeze in a quick break here on the show all about small business, jobs, and entrepreneurship. We'll be right back.